Seriously, if I came up to you at a bar, it's like, hey, baby. I do it for you? I took the wedding ring off? So I'm incredibly embarrassed to admit that I've become addicted to Facebook. Anyone else out there on Facebook?
Yeah.
No one in this crowd is not. One of the things I look at all the time are the status updates, and not because I'm amused by them. I'm actually very annoyed by most of them. You see things like Laura is feeling so sick today, and doesn't have enough paid time off to take her job off. And I would love to be like the boss of the guy that just hired Laura. Be like, hey Mitch, come in here. Isn't this the girl you just hired? Yeah. Well, what did we hire her to do? Type on the computer. So she's sitting at home typing that she's too sick for free because she doesn't want to come in and type and get paid. Good hiring strategy there, Mitch. I'm from a very small town in Ohio, and Facebook is, the cool thing about it is, been able to kind of reunite, or whatever you want to call it, with people I haven't spoken to in 20 years, guys that I went to high school with. But the town is so small, you see a lot of postings like, taking my son Colby today to get the calf branded for the county fair. And, we're setting up the pack and play in the Target parking lot for the fireworks show. Free fireworks. One of the best ones I ever saw was someone was planning to go, they had to go to one of their nephew's birthday parties, but then a surprise funeral popped up within a couple of hours of each other. So they're like, well, you know what? I'll bring a change of shirts and I'll just wear my good Levi's. So one of the other great things about Facebook is, you can share photos with people. I like that aspect. I don't like what's called. I was sent a photo recently that says Sean was tagged in a photo. I just don't like the wording of it. It sounds like ass play. I got tagged. So I wish they would change that, but it's nice to share the photos. It was a photo of my wife and I at a friend's wedding from about a year ago or so. And I had commented to my wife, I was like, oh, I love that dress on you. It looked really great there. She's like, oh, are you kidding me? My boobs are popping out. It's horrible. My wife's fairly well endowed. But it struck me because there's a modesty to women that men just don't have like that. Where like if someone saw a picture, a couple buddies looking at a picture, I'm like, oh hey Dave, yeah, I love that cool suit you were wearing there. What are you kidding? Look at it, my 14-inch cock is just bulging out of my pants. What to do with this thing? I'm thinking of getting a reduction. I really don't know what to do. Because guys are like, even when we have bad body parts, we're modest, or it's like, somebody tells you have a huge beer gut. I'm like, oh, gut's not that bad. I mean, look at that guy. Way worse than me. So I'm from the Midwest. Been in LA for a couple years. Recently, this past year, big in the news, the Proposition 8. The Mormons are against the gays getting married. They don't like that at all. I voted for the gay people to be allowed to be married. I marched a couple of times. The date or the entrance?
No, he keeps it out.
Okay, you're just the entrance. Okay. But being that I have a handful of gay friends, I've told them, I'm like, yeah, that's great, you want to get married. But really, I'm like, what are you doing? You're ruining a perfect thing. You have an out. Like every straight guy in every relationship you've ever been in, you've gotten to that point where it's like, what's the next step? Where is this relationship going? I wish that we could, you know what, baby, I would love to marry you, but Damn Mormons, it's against the law. But I joke a lot about that stuff like that with my wife. My wife and I are actually starting to try to have a baby now. Are you gonna babysit? I'm terrified. Terrified of losing my free time, spending money on someone other than myself. Well, you know, I'm an actor, so I sit around all day basically doing nothing. So, you know, it's like instead of watching Natural Born Killers, editors, you know, uncut edition, it's Zora, or who's the explorer?
Dora.
Dora. Do you have kids? No? Child molester? Gotta stay fresh on the topics. The candy just doesn't lure them to the van anymore. But it's funny trying to start to have kids now, because as a man, I'm 37. I spent the last 22 or so years trying not to get women pregnant. So that now to be trying to do it on purpose is a weird feeling. And for a while, you know, my wife was on birth control, so it was nice, no condoms. But for a short time, when she went off the pill, we had to use condoms for a little while because you women gotta get the cycles regulated. But it was odd going back to the condom, but it was pretty nice because you last a lot longer. But it was weird after years of not using a condom. Like the first time I put one on, I remember my wife was like, "I think it's too big for you." I was like, "It's the reservoir tip. Tip, you have to leave some at the end." Guys, you remember the first time, like, you had to use condoms all the time, like when you first started getting laid in high school or middle school, whatever. Been for some of you, but that first time, where a girl's like, "Oh, I'm on the pill, you don't have to use a condom." I'm like, oh, jackpot. Of course, then the stamina thing comes back into play again. One thing I will say as far as the having the kids, or trying to have kids, my wife recently went and bought ovulation tests. And I was like, what? I've heard of pregnancy test. What's the ovulation test? So well, it's a similar thing. You know, you pee on the stick, but it tells you when your most fertile months, or most fertile days of the month are. There's usually a 3-4 day span. And I was like, we're having this baby thing. I am planning on the sex every day for months. That's what the guys deserve. I was like, here's my ovulation plan. We have sex every day for like 3-4 months. If you're not pregnant by then we will start taking those ovulation tests so that we know what days to have sex 2 or 3 times a day. One more thing I did want to say just before I go about Facebook and reconnecting with you know, like people, like I said, that I haven't spoken to in 20 years. It's funny seeing how what's become of people that you knew in the 6th grade, 9th grade, whatever. And I saw one of the guys had become a pastor. It was really weird. I was like, wow. Just an odd field, and you know, one of his status updates on the Facebook was, you know, there's nothing more beautiful than hearing a choir sing a cappella, "Blessed Be Thy Name." And I was like, that's the same guy who told me about jerking off in the 6th grade. It's funny how far we've come. All right, I've been Sean Graham. Thank you.